my head, don't I? All right. Wow, that's sort of really off kilter, isn't it? Crooked. Yes, crooked. Back up. Winding down the wiggle room. Get out of the way. Okay. Now we're just causing more trouble than we're worth. I think one of these legs is not one of these legs is not like the others. Yeah, I'm not gonna keep fighting with that right now. There. How's that? Are we better? Nope, we're crooked. We're still bloody crooked. I don't know what it's doing. Whatever. Don't care. It doesn't look too bad there. Oh, for pity's sake. Everything's got to be a fight tonight, I guess. All right. Yeah, so you're kind of tilted that way. I don't know why the tripod's behaving that way. Is the floor crooked? Screw it. Don't care. Video games. So we've got Cuddle Pop and Liquid Metal Rage to work on. I managed to hook up my other computer for the first time in a few months. So now I've got 2 to work on. It's currently, I can't believe it's still trying to upload that video. It's like 4 hours of exporting, uploading, and processing. It's taking forever to get that up. That should have been, I finished the edit around 7:30. And it's just taken so long to finish it. Although, to be fair, it is a longer video. And it's not split like I'm trying to do the rest of them now, because it's 2.5 years old. There was no clean split for me to use. This is, I think it's 20 to 30 minutes long. So that may be part of what's taking the time. But once it's up, I don't know that I have any more. Well, I got a lot of older videos. I may have to go through them and figure out a different way to edit the pieces. So I'll figure that out. In the meantime, that's also the computer that has the BuildBox software in it. So I'm waiting to get access to that and play with that a little bit over the next couple days to build some basic samples of gameplay mechanics. And I'm not sure how well it'll work, but I'd like to see if I could aim the camera at the screen. Oh, I doubt it. I just might hold off on doing that. We've had such bad luck with that in the past that I probably won't do that. I may see about doing a recorded update and post it at some point. But yeah, so basically at this point the artwork for the games is a hurdle for me. The music, and that's really mostly it. Because every other part of this game, either of the 2 games, is really just designing the character and the collision mechanics for these cuddle pods so that you don't collide with a thing that would kill you, and the motion of moving forward by tapping. Now I'm thinking what I'm doing for that is I gotta come up with some names for the characters, but the Cuddle Pop main characters, as you're playing them, the way I want to do it, and I have to test it out on the game mechanics that BuildBox uses, is like Flappy Birds used a forced scrolling mechanism with character, obstacle, collision warning. So you hit them, you die. And the only thing you did was tap. The character you play is dominated by gravity, and you tap to flap, which essentially jumps and keeps you above, and then it sort of makes you do a ballistic arc, and you tap to keep it arcing over and over and over again. That's not going to work for me because for Flappy Birds, it's your character's trajectory is sort of down unless you tap to keep it rise and fall, rise and fall. So there's an existing unidirectional force pulling the character to its demise. And in my game, there isn't one of those. Like the obstacles that you're going to be... I might think about that a little bit. The obstacles that I'm trying to design for Cuddle Pop, it's going to be a little bit more like a... you're swimming upwards against an advancing wall or an advancing bottom, and obstacles will be in front of you on either side. So moving forward is what you're doing for tapping. Obstacle avoidance can't be done using the same mechanism for advancement. So in Flappy Birds, you tap to keep it from falling, but you also tap at certain speeds or rhythms to keep it fluttering in the right space to pass through the obstacles. Now, if I'm moving mine vertically, the obstacles would be on either wall. So tapping there to move up doesn't shift your position in a direction to avoid obstacles. So what I'm hoping to be able to achieve there is do it in a manner that means that if you tap on the left-hand side of the screen, the character will move sort of like at an angle to the left, and if you tap to the right, they move right. So you just tap left, right, left, right, left, right, and then center if you want to stay in center. And that is, it's basically getting the character to try to go in the right direction to get around obstacles. I think that's the motion mechanic I want to use. And ooh, I had a weird thought here. Like, I still feel like for the gameplay, I'm used to the idea of, there are monsters or villains that you have to defeat or avoid in gameplay. And I like the idea of the squid ink being something you can use to do that. But I don't want it to be somebody can kill you, because that's sort of against the cuteness aspect of the game. But I got to thinking, it just occurred to me. It just popped into my head as I was sitting here thinking about it. What if it's the paparazzi? Like a shark or a starfish or a clownfish or an octopus with cameras or something like that popping out and trying to get in your face and slow you down and get you to answer questions, pictures of you. And you avoid the paparazzi by ink cloud, and they're unable to get a picture of you and can't find you, and you can slip out and try to move past them. I like that idea. That's a fun idea. I like it. I'll see if I can figure out how to make that work in the rest of the game here. And then, yeah, I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. So avoid the paparazzis, use squid ink, or I guess cuttlefish ink, to cloud and block their ability to find you. Collect your instruments and your outfits, and collect your bandmates, and get to the concert on time. And then, repeat for another track, unlock different characters. Unlock or purchase new costumes or instruments or things like that. I think that mostly works. I mean, like the mechanic, the key component here would be the mechanic of move up, move left, up left, move up right. Don't fall and hit the bottom. Don't get caught behind an object. And don't get trapped by paparazzi. Paparazzi shouldn't be able to kill you. They'll just slow you down. They'll get in your way, and you have to keep trying to get around them, and you try to work around them, and they slow down your time, get you closer to the bottom where you don't want to touch the bottom as it's following you. Yeah, so that I think works. Squid ink would essentially stun, or the cuttlefish ink would stun the paparazzi characters. I think I do want to figure out, I do have to do a piece of, or like a slideshow series of images for the closing credits. If I can figure out how to add one, like I need the opening screen, the game over screen for fails, and game over screen for beating a level are all doable. I don't know if there's a credits screen that you can add to a build box game. I kind of want that to be like a big concert or something like that for the characters, but I think I can figure that part out. If it comes down to it, I may have to sign up for another year of build box and see what I can build with it, or at least another month. And then let's see. Other than that, yeah, the tapping up left, tapping up right, tapping up middle. What do you hit to release an ink cloud? And the treasure chests that you open for your items and connect with your bandmates, unlocking new bandmates, unlocking new levels, unlocking new items, or purchasing new items. Figuring out how to handle the advertising versus ad-free version of a game, and so maybe just make the game free and have advertising placed in the game, and what was it, 25% of the income from the game goes to organizations that clean up the ocean and save the coral reef. And if you want the ad-free version of the game, you can purchase that, and 25% of those purchase prices go to oceans and coral reefs. And then purchasable with game points, very high levels of game points. You can purchase certain things and add them to the game features. I feel like the dress up doll version of the characters, I don't know if there's a way to make that happen in the game. I'll have to figure out if there's a mechanic to be able to add to gameplay to do that. And then figure out like in-game purchases. If somebody wants to buy new costumes or new instruments. And I want to see if I can do a social media screen caps that people can post. I could give a nice little button to, when you finish the level, give the option of dressing your character in a costume with an instrument in front of the band, something like that. Or maybe just each of the characters gets their own screen that you can screen cap and post to social media. And that would be kind of fun to be able to do, but right now, just getting the mechanics of making the character move and do the things it needs to do. And then Liquid Metal Rage. That one is about as straightforward as most of it could possibly be. It is, of all things, simply moving a ball across the screen by dragging it around and avoiding hitting the back wall or getting pinched between the back wall and an obstacle. But that would be met by the same qualifications, because if the back wall hits you and prevents you from squeezing out, it's still touching the back wall that killed you. And then figure out some maze paths to get people to travel around them. I think for right now, one of the easier mechanics for this would be just to have maybe a power-up that causes the scrolling of the screen to stop enough to give you time to move around. And then, oh, but that is tricky. The mechanics of turning into a liquid to be squirted through smaller areas when the wall pushes on you. So the back wall moving into you can't be the thing that kills you. So you can't go past the back wall, because as soon as you turn liquid, the wall needs to be able to push you. But you can't get caught in a place between an object you can't move past and that wall. I got to figure out how that's going to happen. Because I can't have the walls that you move around and bounce off of be the thing that kill you. But I can't have that scrolling margin be the thing that kills you either. It's getting pinned that should have... It would be the thing that kills you. That back wall can't hurt you. The objects on the screen can't hurt you. It's always going to be if you can't get to another part of the screen fast enough. If you just get trapped. That's the big thing. And it has to kill you, because if it's going to be liquid metal rage, it has to be a thing that you just keep dying and dying and dying. I'm going to get past this level. It's right there. I can figure out how to do it. So I got to figure out, and that'll take some, and it's part of the reason why I haven't been able to do it yet, is computer's doing the uploads. I can't choke it with trying to do build box stuff, because it'll crash right away. So I can't do that right now, and I'm going to have a couple other videos over the next couple days, I think, where I'm going to be doing this pretty regularly now that I got two computers, one to do the live stuff with and one to do some of the edited stuff with. Because right now that's uploading on this channel right now while I'm live streaming on this channel right now. I think there's a threshold to which how much I can do on any given thing at a time. But yeah, I think we've figured out how to do these games for the most part, other than just testing out the mechanics and gameplay, getting the art. Now I feel like I want the liquid metal rage just because it's called liquid metal. I need to have the character look like a blob of mercury, just a bead of mercury moving around. And that's when you tap it directly, just like full on tap, not drag and move, but tap tap, or maybe it has to be a double tap. I don't know. But if you double tap it, the character and turns into a bunch of little beads moving around, and then coalesce back into the main one. Now, there is a mechanic in Build Box that lets you split a character and have them all act in a similar way in response to what you're doing. That might be what I have to do. It may make more sense to not have the wall squish you through a space, instead having you be able to turn into a liquid and still control it when it's liquid, and so have you squeeze it through the little smaller spaces. I think that maybe makes more sense, but that might make the visual mechanics a little more difficult, because the animation for a character is something that in most games is pretty straightforward. The animation of a character is either standing still, walking right, walking left, jumping. So you have like 4 to 5 basic positions the body's in, and sometimes the walking right animation is legs closest to the viewer are forward, and then legs closest to the viewer are backward, and the back legs do the opposite. So that's usually how like the mechanics are done. It's sort of like stop motion. It's legs forward, legs backward, legs forward, legs backward, and that's how the character looks like it's walking. Its legs alternate back and forth like this, and it's just a series of, it's like the flip books when we were kids. You could draw pictures of characters moving, and each different movement was recorded on a different page, and you just flip back and forth, and you could see what looked like somebody walking. But you're using a set number of 4 to 5 images to do that. The problem is, if you're using a sphere and you turn it into a liquid state that you can squeeze through a shape in the board, that shape it squeezes through. So say you start like a V with a pipe on it that's too small for the ball to fit through. That ball's going to squeeze through into essentially a worm. But the ball's going to get smaller as it goes down the tube. It's going to be weird to figure out how to make that happen. And I think part of the trick of that is with a fixed shape character, your collision surfaces are all the same as your image. And that image is pretty much always going to have the same dimensions. It's going to be like a Super Mario. You're always going to have the same grid of dots that count for they collided with a thing. With something that squishes down or splits apart or turns into lots of pieces or starts as a glob and shrinks into a snake or a worm, the collision shapes on that are vastly different in different positions. So I got to figure out if there's a way to make that happen in BuildBox. I may just end up just BSing it a little bit. We'll see. We'll see what that ends up looking like. We've got to figure out, there may be some tricks and hacks to get around some of those limitations. I'm thinking like there's a cloud effect around a character. And I wonder if the cloud effect can have a collision marker. And I could turn that cloud effect, instead of doing a particulate cloud, like a mist around the object or fire or whatever you want to do, I could change that image to be melted globs of metal that are partially fused to the main body. So it would cause a distorted blobby shape of the bead as it melts. And like I said, you could do minute clones of the main character that converge back on the character and try to merge back into them. Those give you some of the scatter and spread and pull back aspect of it. But how did that happen? Anyway, the hard part is still going from a large object too big to fit through a thing with collision surfaces preventing it from doing that, getting through that opening, to reshaping the collision space to a slender thing that can fit through it and bend around things and move. That's going to be tricky. That's going to take a bit of work to figure out. If I have to, I may end up just making all the paths pretty straightforward. And setting up the collision shapes of the collision shape of the main character may end up being just a small dot, and they will always have a persistent halo of clones that are covered up by the mass of the image of the main character until you tap or hit the space bar, at which point those clones scatter and form a line instead of being a cluster around the main body. I'll have to figure that one out. That's going to be the tricky part for this one, I think. And designing levels that are sufficiently maze-like and moderately frustrating enough to work through, that you die frequently, but you can still get through them if you just keep plugging away and figuring it out. So that's sort of where I am on these right now. I'm hoping in the next day or so to get a chance to plug away a little at Build Box to get a sense of what I can make happen. I don't have a lot of faith in the Build Box forums to answer my questions. I've tried to do some forum searches on Build Box forums to get some kind of feedback on what people have been able to do. And when I've done searches, I found a few topics that are similar to what I was trying to do that were posted 3 years ago and nobody's even answered them. Nobody's even said, I don't even know. Like, people post a question about how can I do this in the game and nobody's answering them. So I've seen that happen a lot on BuildBox forums, so it seems to suggest that the community is not particularly great about helping people figure out solutions. I don't have a lot of faith in them, which sucks. It would be nice if I could do that. And I haven't figured out for the third game, the puzzle game that I came up with, how I'm going to build that other than maybe play with building it in Python. But since that one's going to take more work and a different game engine to play with, I'm kind of back burnering that for a little while. I'm still going to count it as partially designed game for this week, but basically I say that so that I like 2 months down the road when I'm designing another board video game, I don't say like, well, I'm going to make this game now. Like, I've already come up with it. I've done the designs, I've figured it out this week, and that's really what these weeks are supposed to be for, is coming up with the idea, coming up with these outlines and the basic format and design aspects of the game. And then the actual building of it comes sometimes later. Most of the time for a lot of these things, they come later. The hope is maybe by the end of the year, I will have a prototype playable version of these video games, if not a finished version of these games. We shall see. We'll see what that looks like. Right now, we're about 32 minutes in. I think I did a pretty good job tonight. I'm finding it harder to talk for longer periods about some of these things, and I think the 30-minute window is a decent time frame to work on. It's also hot again. I don't know why it's... Well, I've got 2 computers running in this small room with the lights on. It's probably heating up the room a little bit, so I'm going to turn on the AC again. Can't wait for fall. Anyway, I can't wait to be done with this carbohydrate diet. I don't think that's helping me at all. All right. I'll call it here for tonight. Tomorrow's Friday. I hope during the day tomorrow to get the chance to work on some of the build box play mechanics. Now, I'm not going to have any art done for it yet, but if I can see if I can nail down some of the mechanics and the basic structure of the games, that would be ideal. And then tomorrow I've got to upload. I've got taste test done today. I'm going to try to do tonight 1 or 2 of the music React review and the prompt videos. Yeah, my brain is fried. My brain is absolutely fried. I can't even remember what it is I do on my channel right now. So the React and review and the creative prompts videos for music should be in the next 12 hours. And then tomorrow, I need to do a React and review of a video game, and then creative prompts inspired by video game. And then tomorrow after evening, I guess, 8 Eastern, I will be doing the discussion of my experience thus far with the effects of carbohydrate diet on my physical health, and then an overall assessment on Friday. Friday is health and well-being video for the month. Yeah, so health and well-being video for the month. The fitness and diet video at 8, and then the last of the video game discussion Saturday night, and then writing and videos starting Sunday through to Wednesday, I think. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday is cooking. And that should get me that should get me on the 4th, started a whole new month with a lot less extra to deal with. I had a thought, but I lost it. It's too hot. It's too much carbs. Too much going on. All right. I will come back tomorrow with hopefully a clearer head and a bit better sense of where things are. All right. Take care and have a good night. Oh, come on. You can spell good night. It's a relatively simple. Oh, good night. Oh, that's a good one. I should work on that. Good night. I seem to do that too often. Might as well just make that a t-shirt at some point. Good night. All right.